Welcome to the Age of Vision radio show with your host, Lonnie Clark, where we constantly remind you that love is greater than fear and happiness is resistance. Good afternoon. This is Lonnie Clark with the Age of Vision radio show. And as the title says, I'm going to be doing another reading from Dr. Caldicott's book. It's our 5th reading. But before I get started, I wanted to share with my podcast audience something that I do regularly. I've done this on my radio show. I've been on UCY.TV radio for the last 3 years until that station closed down due to unexpected emergencies, medical emergencies with the producer's family. So I have started podcasting on my own, and that's how I've come to read these books on my YouTube channel and on my radio show that was on UCY.TV, the Age of Vision radio show. I often read poetry at the beginning of the show, and you'll hear me do that from, here and there. And this is going to be one of those days. I made a video about this on my YouTube channel, Nuts for Art, NUTZFORART, but I thought I'd share it with my podcast audience because it was a magical event. I know that this is my avocation. I don't do this for a living. I make no money. It's really nonprofit. This podcast posts up on a nonprofit radio station in Eugene, Oregon, where I live, KEPW. And thank you for that, KEPW. It's a community-sponsored radio station, and meaning 501(c), meaning it needs people to give it money. So if any of my listeners on this podcast want to log into kepw.org, take a listen. It is an awesome, I am not kidding, the music there is great, very unusual. The radio shows are really good, kind of unique, a bit raw like this one, but really good content. They have a variety of shows. But I want to get back to my podcast so I have time to read Dr. Caldicott's book. I know we only have an hour. And I probably will read about a half an hour because honestly, it kind of gets to me after about a half an hour. My heart, it gets heavy. These are heavy topics. And when I say happiness is resistance, I mean that. It does take resistance. It takes resilience for us to decide we're going to enjoy our lives, because realizing we're living in the contamination stew, it's not just nuclear, it's everything. Hopefully I'll be having on our podcast some interviews with some victims of even fracking. One of my guests is Erica Dugan, and I'm hoping that we can do a pre-record with her soon. And there's other people that I've met on UCY TV. But last week, maybe 3 or 4 days ago, I was just feeling despondent. It was about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. I just finished up work, and I don't know. I just felt heavy-hearted. I needed to do a podcast, and I went into my office, in this office where I do my podcast, and I have all my books for the radio show, and I pulled out my favorite book, one of my favorite books of poetry, and it's called The Way of Life by Lao Tzu. The Way of Life According to Lao Tzu, translated by Witter Bynner, and it is an excellent translation. And I just grabbed it off the shelf and opened up to page 14. I just randomly opened the page, and I got the poem 14, and it is on page 32, actually, of this edition that I have. This is actually the 8th impression, Capricorn Books edition, 1962, copyright 1944 by Byron Witter Bynner, WITTERBYNNER. I always go to my bib and make a little bibliography thing, so that you guys can find the link yourself, so you can get the book. Because it's awesome to hold the book in your hands and to read it, which is what I'm going to do to you right now. I'm going to read you the book, but you don't get to hold it. You get to hold me close in your heart, though, so that's just pretty close. So that means you're holding the book along with me. So, number 14. What we look for beyond seeing and then I'm going to start again. Number 14. What we look for beyond seeing and call the unseen. Listen for beyond hearing and call the unheard. Grasp for beyond reaching and call the withheld. Merge beyond understanding in a oneness which does not merely rise and give light, does not merely set and leave darkness, but forever sends forth a succession of living things as mysterious as the begotten existence to which they return. That is why men have called them empty phenomena, meaningless images, in a mirage with no face to meet, no back to follow. Yet one who is anciently aware of existence is master of every moment, feels no break since time beyond time in the way life flows. Bada bing. I don't know how you feel after that, but it still gives me chills. Mostly because I was so despondent that night, and this spoke to me so thoroughly about loving life and about how beautiful our lives are, and understanding that there's a greater picture to all of this. And our situation may be dire for our species. We're watching the mammals drop off like flies, and we're mammals. But that doesn't mean that we can't stop it. That's why I think it's important to hear this information so we understand what's really going on, because as I'm reading these books, we just finished up reading Carl Grossman's book, Weapons in Space. I read on my YouTube channel 2 Dr. Goffman books. I read Poison Power and Population Control Through Nuclear Contamination, which he wrote as a warning. It wasn't a joke. I thought it was a joke, but it was not, because I had read Irreverie, his joke book. So when I saw this online, I'm like, well, that sounds good. But it wasn't a joke. It's a warning. It's a pretty great book. But anyways, I'm going to get back to the reading of Dr. Caldicott's book, and I hope you enjoyed that piece of poetry, because that's the kind of stuff I actually do here on The Age of Fission. I don't just get on and start reading books. So if you want to get to know me as a kind of a podcaster and understand who I am, you can go to Nuts for Art, or follow me on Instagram too, Nuts for Art, NUTZFORART. I'm on Instagram, but on Twitter, I'm actually Nuts for Art, but I couldn't figure out how to log back into that, so I'm Nuts for Art 2, number 2. So that's me on all the places on the social thing, but because I do post a lot of things. There's a lot of things that I can't get time to read. See, I want to read these articles. Like on my YouTube channel, I read the article and I posted it up, I think, to Dr. Caldicott's last video. That I put the audio on it. They're equipping B-12 bombers with nuclear, improving it. I mean, I just think that that's insane. We don't need the overkill. If they want to do enough, sure. But do we need to do 5,000? No. 10,000 hydrogen bombs? No, we do not need that. We need to figure something else out. So I'm going to get to Dr. Caldicott's book, and I appreciate her allowing me to read this book. Thank you, Dr. Caldicott, because I think people want to hear this information. So we left off on page 53, the second title of the title of the chapter 5, and I think that we are on chapter 5. Yes, it's called Manhattan 2. National Ignition Facility, NIF. This stadium-sized facility is presently under construction at Lawrence Livermore Lab. Designed to be the world's most energetic laser, it was initially pegged to cost $1.2 billion, but it has incurred huge cost overruns and an enormous degree of controversy. Completion is now estimated at $4 billion. The lifetime cost over 30 years, including disassembly and cleanup, could approach to $10 billion. Saddled with a history of technical mismanagement, aborted and inadequate peer reviews, endless R&D requirements, and spiraling costs, this facility is one of the more expensive components of the SS&M program. Diagnostic costs have not yet been included in the entire estimates. National Ignition Facility. This stadium-sized facility, stadium size, so I guess like a football stadium size, is presently under construction at Lawrence Livermore Lab, designed to be the world's most energetic laser. It was initially pegged at a cost of $1.2 billion. Now, this is 2002. I wonder where that's at. My goodness. Well, you know what I want to do, actually? I am going to stop. We have an hour here, so I'm going to go to the internet right now, because I'm reading this book with you, but I would love to know about that, because that is a very, very important little topic we got going on there, isn't it? So let's just look that up. Let's just type it into Mr. Google's. Mr. Google's will tell us their version of the truth anyways. National Ignition Facility. Let's see if it'll pull it up. National there it is. All I did was IG. And what does that say? National Ignition Facility. We'll take a look at what Wikipedia tells us. How about that? Actually, we could go to their website. How about see what they tell us about themselves? Livermore National Laboratory. We'll let my computer get binged by them. Wow. NIF reveals how hydrogen becomes metallic in giant planets. So I wonder what I want to look for is this laser, right? The stadium size designed to energetic laser. I'm going to type in that word, energetic laser. Energetic laser. Okay, let's see what that says. Bing. Laser Compton Light Source Technology. What is NIF? Okay, let's just see what they tell us about themselves. How about that? Actually, I don't want to go into that. I'm actually going to go back to that. I wanted to see what they said, if I could pull up anything about lasers, but it's not very easy. The National Ignition Facility is the largest and most energetic laser facility ever built. NIF is the size of a sports stadium. That's exactly what she said. 3 football fields could fit inside of it. NIF is also the most precise and reproducible laser, as well as the world's largest optical instrument. The giant laser has nearly 40,000 optics that precisely guide, reflect, amplify, and focus 192 laser beams onto a fusion target at about the size of a pencil eraser. NIF became operational in March of 2009. Well, I wonder how much it cost. Let's put that into Mr. Google's. We'll just say cost of NIF. How about that? How about cost of NIF? 3.5. Let's see. The total cost for the NIF, including development, vendors, capital, installation, commissioning, was about $3.5 billion. Wow. Okay. So when you click on to see what that number is, it takes you to a big long list of questions. And it has nothing to do with money. So let's go back to the book. So anyways, back to the book, the NIF. Wow. 3.5 billion. You want to know what happens to some of our trillions? And I bet you that's not even a near full accounting of it all. I'll bet you that is not true. I bet you that it's like subcontracted to somebody, or there's a certain level of subcontracting along with the 3.5 billion. The stadium-sized facility, well, the stadium size fits 3 football fields. The stadium-sized facility is presently under construction at Lawrence Livermore Lab, designed to be the world's most energetic laser. It was initially pegged at a cost of $1.2 billion, but it has incurred huge overruns and an enormous degree of controversy. Completion is now estimated at $4 billion, and finally I think it's at 3.2. That's what they're telling us. Right. The lifetime cost over 30 years, including disassembly and cleanup, could approach $10 billion. Saddled with a history of technical mismanagement, aborted adequate peer review and inadequate peer reviews, endless R&D requirements, and spiraling costs, this facility is one of the more expensive components of the SS&M program. Diagnostic costs have not yet included in the cost estimates. The NIF will consist of 192 laser beams. This is exactly what it says. When focused on a single target, the combined energy release in bursts of just 3 billionths of a second will be 1.8 million joules, a measurement of energy. The laser beam will be fired simultaneously to converge on a tiny BB-sized pellet containing the thermonuclear fuel of tritium and deuterium. For a brief instant, temperatures will reach 100 million degrees centigrade, and the pressure will be 100 billion times Earth's atmosphere, conditions existing in the center of the sun. But there is work to be done. A suitable material for ignition-capable targets has yet to be found. Well, they found it, ma'am. Also, when each laser beam is converted to ultraviolet light, a third harmonic, it severely damages the expensive optic components, causing them to explode after only a few dozen experiments. I wonder how they resolve that issue. We'll have to actually take a little looky-loo. Maybe I'll do that on my YouTube channel, because that's what I like to do on my YouTube channel. Like, go to these websites and share it with my audience. And actually, I've attempted to do it on Google Plus and make the chat available so people could talk to me, but I can't figure it out. I know there's some people that are on there, but I've never figured it out. So anyways, back to the book. Okay, where were we? If successful, the National Ignition Facility could stimulate the development of a pure fusion bomb. If there are no fission products involved in the production of nuclear weapons, their construction cannot be detected by satellites or other technical means. This means that arms control verification will be nullified. Development of a pure fusion bomb. You get that? Not fission. Ted Taylor, a highly regarded physicist and former bomb designer at Los Alamos, believes the NIF laser could provide the scientific means to move the U.S. to the next level of weapons development. If successful, he says, the United States will have unleashed an entirely new threat to the planet's safety. The NIF laser has absolutely nothing to do with safety and reliability of nuclear weapons. According to Bob Purifoy, a retired vice president of Sandia National Labs, who for 39 years has been designing, testing, and evaluating nuclear weapons, quote, NIF is worthless. It can't be used to maintain the stockpile, period, unquote. When Edward Teller was asked what role NIF would have in maintaining the nuclear stockpile, he said, none whatsoever. All 5 facilities that are used to split atoms, be they nuclear reactors or accelerators, already exist at the nuclear weapons labs. A 6th is about to be built. New subtitle. Testing nuclear weapons. Article 1 of the CTBT states, each state party undertakes not to carry out any nuclear weapons test explosion or any other nuclear explosion, and to prohibit any such nuclear explosion at any place under its jurisdiction or control, unquote. Yet subcritical tests that are difficult to detect are being conducted by the U.S. and probably other countries as well. Facilities to resume full-scale testing are being built, and virtual testing via elaborate computer models is being undertaken. New subtitle. Nevada Test Site, NTS. In 1995, DOE awarded a 5-year, $1.5 billion contract to Bechtel Corporation to manage the Nevada test site for the possible resumption of full-scale underground nuclear testing. Lockheed Martin, as previously noted, has also been involved in the NTS. In the meantime, DOE conducts 4 underground nuclear tests a year using small subcritical quantities of plutonium. Let me read that again. In the meantime, DOE conducts 4 underground nuclear tests a year using small subcritical quantities of plutonium. High explosives compress the plutonium and its physical properties are collated and observed when it is shocked. This data is then incorporated into computer models of nuclear weapon performance. Since 1996, 9 subcritical tests have taken place at the NTS under DOE code names such as Rebound, OB, Bassoon, and HOLOG, HOLOG. Clearly, these tests violate the letter and law of the CTBT. Difficult to detect because of their size, they complicate seismic verification of the CTB treaty. Wow. It is known that Russia and France are also conducting subcritical tests. Other countries will inevitably follow suit. The Nevada test site is a huge facility. There are more than 1,100 support buildings and labs, dozens of holes ready for future underground tests, and extensive equipment and personnel on the ready for the resumption of a full-scale nuclear testing. DOE is in the process of renovating 37 miles of roads and is currently replacing an electrical supply substation and other electrical facilities. I bet you that's all finished by now. That's where that site was that I told you guys about, that I reported on my YouTube channel. I think I played it on my last Helen Caldicott thing. Okay, new subtitle. Los Alamos National Laboratory. Subcritical tests are also being conducted at the Los Alamos National Lab. This program, codenamed Appaloosa, is conducted in utmost secrecy using an 8-foot diameter, 2-inch thick, single-use vessel made of special steel developed for submarine hulls. According to researcher Greg Mello of the Western States Legal Foundation, these Los Alamos tests probably serve several purposes, but one is the unique capability to conduct detailed implosion studies of full primaries using plutonium-242. According to Mello, the tests are the closest thing to an actual nuclear explosion without an actual nuclear detonation. That seems to be the plan for the newly manufactured W-88 pits and for the W-76 replacement warheads, both of which are newly designed bombs. Building nuclear weapons and upgrading facilities. New subtitle. Camouflaged by stockpile management jargon, the next generation of upgrades to nuclear weapons components, including the design, integration, prototyping, fabrication, and qualification of microsystems for weapons components, is being manufactured, and with it, what amounts to brand new nuclear weapons. New subtitle. Accelerated Strategic Computer Initiative, ASCI, ASCII. ASCII, huh? A massive undertaking is underway at all 3 nuclear weapons labs to develop computers with enormous speed and memory capacities far greater than available today. Boom, mission accomplished. That's already done, Dr. Caldicott. Ching. We probably can't even imagine what they can do. The computers will be used to model precisely the behavior of an exploding nuclear weapon through all its stages in order to develop extremely complex nuclear weapons codes for virtual testing of nuclear weapons. They will also be used for weapons design, production, and accident analysis, for certification, and for prototyping of manufacturing techniques. Existing facilities include the ASCII Red Terascale computer, the world's fastest computer at Sandia Lab, the ASCII Blue Mountain computer, the third fastest computer in the world at Los Alamos, and the ASCII Blue Pacific computer at Lawrence Livermore Lab, running at 80,000 times the memory of an average personal computer. So imagine what they have now, you guys. Wow. The Red Terascale and the Blue Mountain computers recently simulated a 3D explosion in the secondary component of a hydrogen bomb for the first time. And the Blue Diamond simulated a 3D explosion in the primary plutonium trigger for the first time. So the nuclear establishment is already well on its way into this series of experiments, and more sophisticated computers are planned. Mission accomplished already, Dr. Caldicott. It's 2018. We be Deus Issa. The ASCII option White Terra Ops computer is currently being built jointly by IBM and IBM. They're the same Nazis who put people into prisons in the Hitler camp. They have no morals. Who are those people? Ew. I be mean. That's what they are. I be mean. Okay. Back to the book. Sorry about that, folks. The ASCII option White Terra Ops computer is currently being built jointly by IBM and the Lawrence Livermore Lab at a cost of $110 million. This will be the world's fastest, most powerful computer. A 30 Terra Ops computer is planned for Los Alamos Lab and a 100 Terra Ops computer for Lawrence Livermore. Each lab evidently must have its own. All of these supercomputers will be manufactured by Intel, Silicon Graphic Corporation, and its subsidiary Cray, and IBM. New subtitle. Other R&D test facilities. There are 9 major operational facilities at the nuclear weapons labs that work with and on plutonium, tritium, uranium, beryllium, silicon-based microelectronics devices, chemical facilities, flight test facilities, and high explosive facilities. All are related to the development of nuclear weapons. 2 more facilities are planned. The first is a chemistry and metallurgy research building. Metallurgy, I think that's how you say it. Metallurgy. METALLURGY. Research Building, CMR, at Los Alamos, to be constructed for research and experimentation in analytical chemistry, metallurgy, and plutonium and uranium chemistry. The price? $1 billion. The building will be equipped with hot cells and glove boxes to handle and machine. Wait a minute. This building will be equipped with hot cells and glove boxes to handle and machine the plutonium metal with lathes. In all, Los Alamos plans to manufacture 80 to 50 new plutonium pits per year for the equivalent number of hydrogen bombs. Why? Wow. The second is a microsystems and engineering sciences applications MESA facility destined for construction at Sandia. MESA will be used to manufacture the next generation of upgrades to nuclear weapon components. including the design, integration, prototyping, fabrication, and qualification of microsystems for weapons components. The facility will cost $400 million. So this is where all of our trillions of dollars is going. A few hundred here, a few hundred there. Give 100, take 100. All of a sudden you have $1 trillion. And homeless people and starving people. People who can't go to the doctor, who can't get their teeth fixed. We can't fund our schools. You can't get a raise because it's a ridiculous system. This is a ridiculous system of war. Has to end, you guys. Manufacturing facilities. There are 7 huge nuclear weapons complexes apart from the nuclear weapons labs, which have been operational for decades. Over many years, these facilities have become extremely polluted. These include the Kansas City plant, KCP, the Y-12 plant in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, the Pantex plant in Texas, the Savannah River plant, SRP, in Aiken, South Carolina, and the TA-55 plutonium facility at Los Alamos, the non-nuclear manufacturing facilities at Los Alamos, and the neutron generator facility at Sandia Labs. 7 more facilities are planned for the production of ever more hydrogen bombs. You know what was not included in that list? That's just manufacturing facilities. Let's go back. 7 more facilities are planned for the production of ever more hydrogen bombs. These include a tritium extraction facility, TEF, at Savannah River, the new uranium enrichment facilities at Y-12, a storage site for enriched uranium, and 2 other sites for manufacturing plutonium pits for bombs. The largest will be a large-scale pit production at Los Alamos at a cost of $3 billion. It is hard to pretend that any of these activities, let alone all of them, are being undertaken for the safety and reliability of already existing weapons that have been stockpiled. Hazards of SS&M, new subtitle. Computer chaos. In some cases, work that is taking place at these facilities may actually jeopardize the reliability and safety of existing weapons. For many years, for example, computer calculations bridge the gap between partial experimental measurements gained from actual nuclear tests and incomplete theoretical understanding of the bomb mechanism. These calculations provided a working predictive capability for the design and production of many generations of nuclear weapons. Obviously, as computers became increasingly sophisticated, fewer actual nuclear tests were needed. Computer codes thus became an integrated compendium of the diverse scientific and engineering knowledge relevant to the construction and function of nuclear weapons, even becoming the principal design tools for specific weapons. The goal of the SS&M program is to construct a 3-dimensional, full physics, full system computer simulation of the explosion of a nuclear weapon. The problem is that as more new and sophisticated data is fed into these supercomputers, the old nuclear codes derived from nuclear testing become confused. In other words, new data erodes the predictive capability of old nuclear weapon performance codes. Any change of the proven design of a hydrogen bomb undermines its reliability. Therefore, the greater number of changes induced by a mass array of experiments, the greater will be the incentive to resort to a full-scale underground testing. Very sneaky. Okay, news subtitle. I'm going to keep reading a little while. We still have 12 more pages of this chapter. I don't think I'll be able to read the full 12 pages in the next 20 minutes or so, but I'm going to keep reading. The news subtitle is called Academic Strategic Alliances Program, ASAP, and International Access to Weapons Design. Perhaps the most dangerous aspect of SS&M is its real potential to put sensitive nuclear weapons data into the hands of non-nuclear nations. By developing alliances with a number of universities and offering their students and staff access to previously confidential material, this program could give foreign nationals free access to U.S. nuclear weapons design for the first time. This situation will expedite the ability to non-nuclear countries to design and build advanced nuclear weapons. The Department of Energy actually acknowledges the problem. A 1995 report titled "The National Ignition Facility and the Issue of Non-Proliferation" states that, quote, "A modern sophisticated proliferator with access to ICF computer codes and today's computer workstations could have far more tools by designing a secondary, the major component of a hydrogen bomb, than the US, UK, or USSR had in the 1950s, or France or China in the 1960s." Unquote. This potentially dangerous situation has been alleviated somewhat since the concern at Los Alamos about a potential Chinese spy, Wen Ho Lee, who in December of 1999 was charged with downloading sensitive nuclear weapon codes on insecure computers. He was later cleared of virtually all charges. Since September 11th, however, there will be certainly be stringent conditions imposed upon the ASAP program to prevent foreign students gaining access to sensitive nuclear weapons data. Oh my goodness gracious. Think of this. I hadn't even thought of this with all of these. This is how they get all the information, isn't it? This is some heavy stuff, guys. It makes me feel, I'm going to be 63 in October. I honestly would never have guessed that our country would want 10,000 hydrogen bombs. Who wants that? Not me. That's complete insanity. Massive overkill. We don't need 10,000 hydrogen bombs. Okay, you want 100? You want 200? Great. You want 1,000? Fine. 10,000 insanity. Back to the book. Gosh. Okay, on July 31st, 1997, the DOE announced the award of a multi-million-dollar, multi-year contract to 5 universities. The purpose was to study basic science, computer science, mathematics, and engineering research for U.S. nuclear weapons programs. They put them in the schools so they could reel them in because nobody wanted to become nuclear scientists on their own. Thus, non-government academic scientists are to be involved in the development of nuclear weapons for the first time since the Manhattan Project. The lucky campuses are as follows: the California Institute of Technology, Stanford University, the University of Chicago, the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and the University of Utah. In all, a total of 14 universities and colleges are already participating to some degree in the ASAP. Each university is to receive $20 to $30 million over a 5-year period, possibly to be extended for another 5 years at another $20 to $30 million. The universities are establishing centers of excellence, operating as partners with nuclear weapons labs at the Accelerated Strategic Computer Initiative. This exercise is classified as Level 1 funding. Levels 2 and 3 are in the pipeline. The schools will work in close collaboration with Los Alamos, Lawrence Livermore, Sandia on R&D activities in the specific areas related to nuclear weapons development as follows. The California Institute of Technology, Caltech, will develop a virtual shock tube, a computer simulation of the detonation of high explosives and the effect of ensuing shock waves on specific test materials related to nuclear weapons, plutonium and uranium. At this stage, it is not clear whether data from this virtual shock tube will be incorporated into the lab's supercomputers as nuclear weapons codes. A bomb code would also need to include critically fission and fusion nuclear processes, plus the energy released in the explosion. Caltech will investigate the combined simulations of high explosives with shocked materials, including plutonium and other materials used in nuclear weapons. It will also investigate the physical dynamics at material interfaces of these metals, plus shock-induced compressionable turbulence, and the mixing within these test materials, plus shock-induced compressible turbulence, and the mixing within of these test materials. The Caltech program is ambiguous. On the one hand, it will be required to produce unclassified research material and to educate foreign students. On the other hand, it must produce data relevant to the explosion of nuclear weapons. This means that foreign nationals will have free access to the design of nuclear weapons, previously a closely guarded secret. This posture will obviously induce a conflict of interest for the university and the labs if lateral proliferation of nuclear weapons is to be avoided. Well, actually, Dr. Caldicott, don't you think that's the idea behind it? They want everybody to make nuclear weapons so they can make money off of this stuff. They have no intention of stopping, obviously. The University of Chicago plans to simulate thermonuclear processes that operate within the stars and the sun. This research could be complementary to the Caltech program. Stanford University is to research the dynamics of gas turbine engines, specifically examining turbulence within gaseous and solid states, with specific reference to materials incorporated in their thermonuclear weapons. Specifically examining turbulence within gaseous and solid states. What the heck does all of that mean? The University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign will conduct research on solid rocket propellants used in missiles. This program will concentrate on broad simulation issues of multi-component, multi-phenomena, and multi-scale systems for solid rocket boosters. I'm going to go back to this one. Stanford University is to research the dynamics of gas turbine engines, specifically examining turbulence within gaseous and solid states, with specific reference to materials incorporated in their thermonuclear weapons. Wow. Rocket propellants are complex materials that have many innate problems. The new information will therefore be very helpful in new nuclear war planning as well as for missile defense shield. This is about the University of Illinois. This program will concentrate on broad simulation of issues of multi-component, multi-phenomena, and multi-scale systems for solid rocket boosters. The University of Utah will compile data on fires and explosions specifically related to nuclear weapons accidents. Well, I wonder if the University of Utah is compiling records on regular fires around the world, if that's kind of like their forte. New subtitle, Scientific Goals of the Academic Strategic Alliances Program. Overall, the Academic Strategic Alliances Program has been allocated 5 major goals by the Department of Energy. Number 1, establish and validate the practices of large-scale modeling, simulation, and computation as a viable scientific methodology in key scientific and engineering applications, supporting DOE's science-based stockpiled stewardship goals and objectives. Number 2, accelerate advances in critical basic sciences, mathematics, and computer science areas, in computational science and engineering, in high-performance computing systems, and in problem-solving environments that support long-term ASCII needs, ASCI. Number 3, leverage other basic science, high-performance computing systems, and problem-solving environments research in the academic community. Number 4, establish technical coupling of academic strategic alliances program efforts with ongoing ASSE projects in DOE laboratories. Number 5, strengthen training and research in areas of interest to ASSE and SBSS, science-based stockpiled stewardship, and strengthen ties among Lawrence Livermore National Lab, Los Alamos National Lab, and Sandia National Labs, and universities. This last provision is specifically meant to recruit a new generation of intelligent young people into the art of bomb making. Some programs will be designed so that professors and students may never discover the ultimate applications of their research unless they become intimately involved with classified nuclear weapons work. Wow. The Chancellor of the University of Illinois, Michael Aiken, enthusiastically endorsed the notion of SS&M when he wrote, "The national importance of simulation of the science-based stewardship program cannot be overestimated. It is an area in which we are willing and highly able to contribute. I believe that multidisciplinary research and training partnerships embodied in the DOE Academic Strategic Alliance Program and our Illinois proposed center are critical to the development of national defense policy and preparedness, and we are excited about the prospects of working in this enterprise," unquote. The ASAP gives university students unprecedented access to the supercomputers of the weapons labs. It also plans to make available to the public more classified information than ever before. It's worth repeating that although foreign nationals will be prohibited from working in this area, it will not prevent the drift of valuable weapons information into foreign hands. For crucial nuclear design programs will be shared with a wide array of weapon and non-weapon scientists, and computers will run on standard lines. Therefore, information from ASSE will be difficult or impossible to keep secret. This leaky situation will expedite the ability of non-nuclear countries to design and build advanced nuclear weapons. Okay, I think I'm going to stop there. We're at a new subtitle called Environmental Hazard of SS&M. We will pick this up next week. We are ending at page 62. And I want to thank Dr. Caldicott again for allowing me to read this book. I think it's vital. Some of this information is really kind of shocking because it's already come to pass. And I wonder what it really is out there. You know, I know she wrote a newer book, and I can't wait to read it actually after this one. Anyways, we will talk to you guys again. Put your courage feet on, and by putting your courage feet on, I mean pick yourselves up and find ways to inspire yourself. Like at the beginning of this podcast, I talked to you about The Way of Life, my poetry book, according to Lao Tzu. I just opened it randomly and got the most magnificent poem just randomly by opening it up, and the universe will just gives me the right poem. So let's see what it gives us at the end of this reading. Number 21. The surest test if man is sane is if he accepts life whole as it is, without needing by measure or touch to understand the measureless, untouchable source of its images, the measureless, untouchable source of its substances, the source which, while it appears dark emptiness, brims with a quick force, farthest away and yet nearest at hand, from oldest time unto this day, charging its images with origin. What more need I know of the origin than this? That's what I mean. Isn't that great? That's what I mean. Like, despite all of this, we have to really love life just as it is. That is so beautiful. So I will end here. Thank you for joining me. We will talk to you guys next week. Please put your courage feet on, and remember, happiness is resistance, and love really is greater than fear. The Age of Fission radio show brings you book readings, pertinent articles, interviews with both activists and victims of nuclear and environmental contamination. We strive to deliver only the facts from reliable sources. We want to remind you that love is greater than fear, and happiness is resistance. Our dedication to love and happiness paves the road for innovation and healing. As we face our harsh reality, let us hold each other up and rejoice in our humanity. If you want to comment, please send your thoughts to ageoffission@gmail.com. That's AGEOFFISSION @gmail.com. To your host, Lonnie Clark.